Hey, it's Aunt Shazy. I had an opportunity to visit the Peterson Air and Space Museum, a museum that started back in 1982 as the NORAD Visitor Center. Today, the museum is located right in the center of an 8.3-acre historic district on Peterson Space Force Base and is one of 12 such museums in the United States. And it's one of my favorite kind of museums, free. But stick around to the end and I'll tell you what additional steps you do need to take before you can visit. The museum is located on the site of Colorado Springs' first municipal airfield, and the four original airfield structures built between 1928 and 1941 still remain. Three are being used as part of the museum complex, like the oldest structure, the Old City Hangar, that was built in 1928. This hangar features original steel trusses, windows, and architectural details that reflect early Army Air Corps construction. There's a bit of walking between the inside areas, so try to come on a dry day. Here's what I found out about some of the planes they have on display. I'm not a pilot, so if you can offer more detail, please do so in the comments. The North American F-86L Sabre Dog is an all-weather interceptor variant of the North American F-86 Sabre family, built for quick reaction air defense. It originated as the F-86D Sabre Dog, a jet with a radar in the nose and a tray of 24 Mighty Mouse rockets instead of guns for engaging enemy bombers. The L version included upgraded electronics and aerodynamic changes for improved all-weather interception duties. Sabre Dog variants were widely used by the U.S. Air Force's Air Defense Command in the 1950s, before being replaced by newer supersonic interceptors. The Lockheed EC-121T Warning Star is a U.S. Air Force airborne early warning and control aircraft developed from the Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation airliner. It was designed to carry long-range radar equipment and crews to detect and track aircraft and provide early warning and tactical information to military forces. The Warning Star aircraft first entered service in the early 1950s during the Cold War as part of North American air defense and was used by the U.S. Air Force for decades to patrol coastal and overseas airspaces. U.S. Air Force crews nicknamed these aircraft Connie after Constellation, a term they adopted from the civilian version of the airframe. The Northrop F-89 Scorpion was designed to defend North American airspace from bomber attacks in the early Cold War. It was one of the first jet fighters built specifically as a radar-equipped interceptor with a two-crew layout, pilot and radar operator. The late model F-89J variant could carry unguided AR-2 Genie nuclear-armed rockets and AIM-4 Falcon-guided missiles. F-89Js served throughout the 1950s and into the 1960s with Air Defense Command units before retirement. The Canadian CF-100 Canuck is a Canadian twin-jet, all-weather interceptor, and the only Canadian-designed fighter to enter large-scale production. It was introduced in the early 1950s to patrol Canada and continental airspace as part of NORAD air defense. Armament typically included machine guns and wingtip rockets for bomber interception missions. CF-100s were replaced in Canadian service by the more advanced CF-101 Voodoo in the 1960s, and the last Canucks were retired in 1981. The CF-101 Voodoo is the Royal Canadian Air Force's all-weather interceptor derived from the U.S. McDonnell F-101 design. It entered service in the early 1960s and served as Canada's primary air defense interceptor until the 1980s. The aircraft could carry AR-2 Genie nuclear rockets as a deterrent weapon against incoming bomber threats. CF-101s were used in NORAD defense alongside U.S. interceptors and were retired as newer fighters like the CF-18 Hornet came into service. The third Canadian plane they have is a McDonnell Douglas CF-188A Hornet. It entered Canadian service in 1982 to replace the older interceptors like I just talked about, the CF-101 and the CF-104. These Hornets are twin-engine, supersonic multi-role fighters capable of air-to-air combat, ground attack, and tactical support missions. Typical performance includes speeds up to around Mach 1.8, with a range measured in thousands of kilometers, and an armament suite of missiles, bombs, and a 22mm cannon. Oh, and I can't forget to talk about what I just mentioned, the F-104C. Which is a supersonic fighter bomber and interceptor developed by Lockheed during the Cold War as part of the USAF Sentry series. It was designed for very high speed and altitude performance using a powerful General Electric J79 turbojet engine. It could be armed with a 20mm M61 Vulcan cannon, and air-to-air missiles, or bombs for tactical missions. The still photos that I just used in this video are courtesy of the museum. After you walk around the park, once you go inside, you'll get to see early generation satellites and the Cheyenne Mountain Operations Center. So a little bit of history about Peterson Space Force Base and the museum. They are named after First Lieutenant Edward J. Peterson, a World War II U.S. Army Air Corps pilot, originally from Englewood, Colorado. He tragically died in a plane crash on August 9, 1942, on the airfield. His plane was a P-38 Lightning, and just after lifting off the runway, the left engine of his plane failed. The plane burst into flames upon impact. The Peterson Air and Space Museum attracts over 20,000 military and civilian visitors from around the world every year. There isn't a fee or set tour times. It is, though, an active military installation, so you'll need to call ahead or go on their website at least one day in advance to get a one-day base pass to visit. This includes stopping outside the main gate at the Visitor Center to show a valid license, plus car insurance and registration for your vehicle. Everyone over 18 will have to show ID, so give yourself a little extra time for this little extra step. When I went, I got on base pretty quickly.